Hello, hello, hello.
Any sound, any sound.
I think we are back.
Ah,
I believe we are back. We turned it off and on again. So, welcome to Monday Night Live, 6 p.m. We do this every week, but with sound, and a big warm welcome from wherever you're watching in the world. You will have seen enough golf on the TV with the sunshine in the winner of Nick Taylor, 3 from 3 on a playoff, taking down that Sony title, and of course GB and I smashing up Continental Europe in Dubai, Abu Dhabi actually. Been a great week. Cold here.
brutally cold.
Yeah, you're off on your holiday, off to the trade show, James and Simon, next week. So there won't be a live next Monday. Well, there might be. We'll see how that goes. What are you excited about when it comes to the trade show this year? It's the last year it's going to be in Orlando.
Last year Orlando.
So last time that you'll be able to have sort of a couple of days at the theme parks and a couple of days on.
Wouldn't that be nice? What am I excited about? I'm hopeful. What's changed in the last few years is we now get embargoes lifting today, tomorrow, last week, where they used to lift on demo day. So we used to be able to get pictures out of things no one had seen, and that was really exciting. I think what would be good this year if we can get some time with someone of note to have a chat to. There might be a bit of tech we might be able to find out. Yeah, I'm not going to lie, it is less exciting than it used to be. But you never know, we might still find something really unexpected and be able to report back on it.
Look forward to hearing about that. As usual, we've got James behind sorting out our audio and a bit of a shake on. And we've got our Desert Island discs, the 2 iPads for all of your questions on golf equipment and golf coaching. So we will head straight over to the Precision Golf channel as we've got lots of questions coming through already. So if there's
one thing
anything...
I'm going to say now is ping embargo lifts tomorrow. I can't talk about it until tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So any ping questions, just leave until...
Screw the embargo, let's just chat about it. Anyway, Chris Johnson.
It's got blue on.
Chris Johnston. Hi fellas, strike with driver has always been low on face. Angle of attack is level. To upward, forward, centre of gravity drivers like the GT3 help me get strike more central as opposed to the GT2 with the weight at the back. Thanks in advance.
So what they will help with, they won't necessarily help your strike point, but they should help keep the spin from flaring up a little bit more. So if you're level and you're hitting it low on the face, I mean, the stupidly obvious comment says try a higher tee, but a low forward centre of gravity on the head just means that it's not going to gear as much spin on. So it won't help the strike quality, but should help mitigate some of that backspin.
Lift your right shoulder up through strike instead of sitting back and hitting up on it. Anyway, BG1784, hello chaps, playing epic speed 8 degrees with Rogue White 130 stiff. Dynamic loft is a 16, angle of attack at +5.
Right.
SS swing speed around 105, getting almost 3k spin and 123 feet of height. What can I do to reduce the spin and launch? Thank you.
I mean, spin-wise, the epic speed was not the lowest spin head, so there are other heads that will bring spin down. I mean, something like the Triple Diamond AI Smoke, that with the weight forward will bring spin right down without having to really knuckle loft off. So there are head styles that will definitely help, but I'd say it's, head and technique are the 2 key things there.
If you're hitting 5 up and you're hitting it remotely straight, as long as you're not whacking it out the heel, you are one of those guys that have got a bit of a weak face during your swing and you're using the up strike to really get the face square. So I would really look at your face to path value as a general overview in your golf swing and work on trying to get that a little bit stronger. And then you can start to change the dynamics in your swing, squash the ball a little bit more, and then you'll start to get a little bit of a flatter flight and lower spin. That would be the direction to go. Technically,
if you go very low spin head and then do that, then you get a knuckleball. So if you're going to check the technique first, and then you may not have to alter the driver, but then the driver can optimize it rather than then sending it through the floor.
Yeah, for sure. In Murgatroyd, hi guys, going to miss the live, but I thought I'd ask anyway. How often do clubs break when adjusting for loft and lie? Hope to get down to see you soon. Good question.
Yeah, not very often at all. There are some that you know you can move, and there are some that you know you really shouldn't try and get very much out of at all. So every now and then, one of the walls of the shaft of the hosel will be slightly thinner than another, and probably it's probably 1 or 2 times a year we get something break. But considering how many clubs that we're moving, that's very, very, very low. So
absolutely. The Yorkshire Blade. Hi, Simon Stewart. Love the show. Can you hit the S3 against the 241, please? And feedback. I have a test soon with the S3.
So S3, our demos are not here yet. The review I did was with the sample that we got given. And whilst the embargo lifted last week, the demo clubs are not out yet. So I haven't got one here to compare against. But as soon as it comes in, let us know or remind us of this. We'll have it by month end. Remind us of this and we'll do that test for you.
Connor Knight, hi guys. Firstly, thank you, Simon, for the brilliant fit on Saturday. Can't wait to get hold of the clubs, especially the U505 driving iron. Do you know the release date for the Ping G440 driver? Thank you.
Embargo lifts tomorrow, and then we'll get our fitting kit at some point pretty shortly. And then full release is 1st of Feb, I think.
I don't know why I've never pulled this table over here and held them up. Is there a reason why I've never done that before? Because this feels much, much more comfortable.
Don't know.
No.
Don't know.
Okay, well, that's an age thing. I think that is an age thing.
Either.
I think that's an age thing.
We do what we do, we don't think about anything else.
Exactly. Stu Brister, evening gents, played against this fella who had split his back weight in his TSR3, i.e. 6 grams in the heel and 6 grams in the toe versus single 12 grams. He said Cam Smith did this as well. Thoughts, benefits, negatives?
So thoughts are technically you're getting a little bit of a spread of weight, so a little bit of help both heel and toe strike in principle. The danger is making sure you don't make the head weight too heavy. So that would be something where that's I think Cam Smith's frame weight was lighter, and so he put some slightly heavier weights in, so he's using a bit more back weight. So it's just not throwing the swing weight off. But certainly if you can split them without affecting the balance of the club, then it gives a little bit more heel and toe strike protection.
The Yorkshire Blade says that's a new one, pink and green. I like it.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Pink and what is it? Sage. I think. Yeah.
Olive. Kevin Phillips, all things equal, how would you compare the ZX i5 to JPX 925 forged? Thank you.
Bear in mind, I've only had a very brief test with the forged and a little bit more test with the ZX i5. The forged, from what I could tell, very consistent from a spin point of view, but a little higher spin and not quite so fast off the face as the ZX i5. So the Strixons have always been good at taking spin off, sort of higher launch, stronger spin. But the 925 Forge felt like it was more moderate launch, moderate spin, but with forgiveness rather than necessarily a fast head. Might be wrong, but that was my initial test with it.
If you are new to this, we do this every Monday evening, 6 p.m. We even throw in a little live session with some guests. If you didn't catch our Christmas show with Charlie Hull and Todd Clements, do go over and check them out on either channel. And we're going to be running a bit of an audience with in months to come, so stay tuned for that. But give it a like and a share. A share would be fantastic because it would really help us grow the channel. So thanks very much for that. Lisa Cook, good evening. Love the show. Thank you, Lisa. I have Titleist T2000 from 2019 with AMT S300 shafts. When I was fitted originally, they decreased loft but 2 degrees to help keep flight down. Is this an optimal route?
Answer is potentially. I mean, the 200s were quite a strong flight head anyway. For them to strengthen them 2 degrees means you must have potentially delivered quite a lot of loft. So like, if it gets the launch and the spin in a good window, then it's the right thing to do. Ultimately, they're a good head, pretty forgiving. Weren't the highest launching head as it is. They launch higher now, current models. But yeah, if it provides you optimum numbers, it's the right thing to do, ultimately.
I want to say a big shout out to Martin Kelly, a new supporter of my channel. Papa B, hello young men. My 4-iron and 5-iron carry the same distance. My speed for my age doesn't seem bad, 90 miles an hour for 7-iron, that's very good. But once I get past the 6-iron, my contact just feels terrible. Help me, Obi-Wan. I would say, first of all, test by popping your 5-iron and 6-iron on a tee and whipping them off of a tee peg. Nice clean strike off of the tee and make sure that there isn't something underlying with the equipment. And then once past that, how long's a piece of string, really? I mean, I can't really give you much on, I don't hit my 4 and 5 iron different distance because you've got enough speed to. So I would first of all just test it off of a tee to start with, and then give me a face to path number, give me an angle of attack number, and we might be able to go from there. But it's difficult to say off the back of the information that you've given.
Yeah, so even equipment-wise, it could be a number of things. It could be your lofts might be 1.5 degrees difference. They might have, the 4 might be weak, the 5 might be strong. Could just be that depending on your launch and spin, if you're a low launch with the ball, that at the lower loft, the 4-iron just doesn't stay in the air. But at the speed you've got, you should be getting more than the 5-iron. So, yeah, could be a number of things.
Ms. Ali, MS Ali Nerds History is oddly quiet this evening. That's because the audio was off. Thank you very much for that. Matthew Bates, how does the new Mizuno 925 Forged compare to the 245 or the 343? 243, 245 or 243?
343 would be a completely new one. More forgiving than 243. 245 to the 925 Forged is probably, that's where the 2 series cross over for me. I think as I say, we had asked the samples over Christmas to do the review, and that's all we've had to hit with them so far. So I haven't been able to do a really direct comparison 6-iron to 6-iron. However, I think the 245 is going to be a little bit stronger from a distance point of view, but on face value, the 925 Forged seems pretty consistent. However, I think essentially the 925 Forged is a 925 JPX version of the 245. I think there's a little too much overlap for me between the 2 series. If I'm Mizuno, I'd simplify it down a little bit, but I think that's one you could play a JPX or an MP version of pretty much the same head.
Rishi asks, hi, both played La Paradise yesterday. Would you mind explaining a bit more how, I think he meant shaft weight, but he wrote shat weight. We won't go there with that. We won't go there with that. Yeah, shat weight. Let me tell you, Barney had a lot of shat this morning. Anyway, we don't need to go with that. Stiffness, etc., can influence the wet. Let me start that again. Would you mind explaining a bit more how shat weight, stiffness, etc., can influence the wedge game, and some general ideas to think about? Big fan of both channels.
Okay, so the stiffness is really going to affect your feel and how much responsiveness you want back from the shaft. So if we're isolating stiffness, on its own, very little difference at all to performance. It's going to be whether you like the feel of something a little tighter and crisper, or whether you want something that gives a little bit of lag and a bit of lead lag and a bit of kick. For softer shots, some players like one, some players like the other, and that's just purely a feel thing. In theory, a softer shaft gives you a fraction more spin. It's minuscule, but technically it's a couple of tens of revolutions. Weight is about delivery, consistency, and timing. If you get the right weight of shaft, that allows you just to bottom out, to find the low point consistently in the same spot. So your strike is going to become much more consistent through getting the right weight of shaft. Stiffness is much more about feel. Good
answer. Nick K, could you talk to the similarities and differences in the Aqua FX 3.0 200 series and the TZ6 driver shafts?
So FX 200 series and
the Aqua FX 3.0 200 series, and the TZ6 driver shafts.
So the FX 3.0, which is now the GX series, but they were the previous one. They were very, very evenly balanced, and the 200 series sort of mid-launch, so stable-ish for spin, but got a bit of response, a bit of kickback, but very neutrally weighted. The TZ series, the TZ6, I think, wasn't it? That's designed around responsive tip, but then very low spin, so low torque responsive tip, but a structurally a much more stout shaft. So the TZ is generally designed for a more of a hitter and a heavier loader, and so it's more premium grade materials ultimately. And the FX, the 200 in particular, kind of a mid-launch, mid-responsive, still stable for spin, but around someone who wants some more responsive feedback and feel to the shaft.
Simon Langford, evening chaps. Simon from Swansea, enjoying the shows and want to ask, can you compare the new QI35 to the QI10, please? If not, the Elite. Thanks very much.
We can compare the QI10 and the QI35. I will get the QI10 from the workshop.
Oh, lovely stuff, lovely stuff. I will skip over to My channel, Graham Jones. All my clubs are at least 10 years old. My iron shafts are too stiff and heavy. I'm 5 handicap. I always blame the tools, swinging the tool for bad shots. Well, Graham, you know where we are. Get yourself down and we'll get you fitted for some new golf clubs. John Puckett, my favourite show on YouTube, just in front of Simon's Fittings and Good Golf Coaching. Phew, I sit a lowly third. Simon, why do you think a lot of fitters do not seem to value swing weight with fittings? Come in, Simon.
So, a lot of fitters don't value swing weight with fittings. For some reason, it's seen as less important. Actually, it's incredibly important, but it actually, I'm being mildly controversial here. It means you've got to know what you're doing, and
don't be mildly
and you've got to pay attention to it. You've got to know everything has a knock-on effect. Swing weight isn't something that you would use as the rule. If you're D3 of the drive, you're not going to be D3 necessarily the whole way through the set. But if you care about swing weight, that means you care about the timing of the club through the ball, and you also care about the build. So most fitters don't bother with swing weight because they don't have an influence over the build. And most of them don't actually understand its real function. It's just a number. They think it's a kind of a law of physics, but it's not. It's a reference point for feel, not an actual balance point in the club.
Very good, love that. And I think, blowing one's own trumpet here at PG, Precision Golf, when you're fitting a client and someone's building a club and a spec sheet and you've got the chaps, 12, 15 feet away building the golf club and being able to get it absolutely pinpoint accurate. Yeah, it's a huge part of the build, right? And
we're in a position to care about it.
And if you have no influence on that, then you wouldn't want to bring it onto the mat as a discussion because you can't influence it, right?
Because it's okay. So what can you do about it? It is what it is. Whereas actually, no, it isn't. It doesn't have to be what it is. It's what's right for the player. You've also got to know what heads can work within certain boundaries, and it's simple, but it's not simple. It's the result of everything else coming together to make it correct: head weight, shaft weight, balance point, length, grip weight. But so everything else creates. If you get everything else right, the swing weight is the result, and therefore that is the right swing weight for someone. But you do have an influence on it, and then how it affects someone's timing as well. So it's
So let's take two outliers, because I think you've got someone at 5'6", shortish golfer, and then you've got someone at 6'8".
Yep.
Of course, on both ends of the spectrum, not so much the taller guy, but you could have golf clubs that could either be way too light or way too heavy, couldn't you?
Yeah.
So if you go order them with a manufacturer, they're just going to build it and almost to heck with the swing weight. Yeah,
because at the extreme lengths, they are what they are. They have little influence on it. But also, a D2 swing weight at a half-inch shorter than standard swings completely differently than a D2 swing weight an inch longer than standard, because it's a measurement based around a static fulcrum. The swing weight scale doesn't care what length it is, what weight it is, even what club it is. Yep. It doesn't know. It's just you put it on, it comes out with a number and a letter. Yep. So it's not actually scientific, and it doesn't relate to how the club moves. It's a reference point.
Yeah, I think that's so undervalued, right? And understood.
Absolutely. So QI10, QI35. One of the biggest differences between these two heads, I'm going to use the core models here, is that QI10 has that one weight at the back. Yes, there's a small weight here for swing weighting, but it's not really influencing the performance of the club. QI35 has a back weight and a front weight, and these two are interchangeable and are different weights. So one is standard, one's a 3 gram, one's a 13 gram. So in the same way that the Triple Diamond Callaway or Cobra's Dark Speed had an interchangeable front and back weight where you can put the heavy weight forward for low spin and back for more forgiveness and more stability, so does the QI35 now. As you can also see, he says, putting up to camera, from the sole of the club, hopefully both are on screen now, there's a lot more composite And a lot more composite from on the sole of the QI35. So, and again, they're showing you with the crowns, that will kind of waffle, that weave. They're showing you what they've done with all the very, very lightweight materials. So one of the criticisms of the QI10 was that it wasn't very good out the heel. Used to spin a lot. But the QI35 looks like it has, looks like they've solved it.
With waffle and weave?
With waffle and weave, exactly. So, and actually my initial sort of testing with the QI35 is pretty impressive. So, QI10, you've got the line at the top to see the face. QI35, you've got the lighter crown. Let's do a quick swipe with this. These are both 9 degrees in the core model. And it's a little bit of a kind of a tinnier kind of sound. I mean, that one I've hit high up the face, so it's got no spin on it. But that was one of the big things about the QI10. If you got it on the right bit of the face, no spin. If you got it on the wrong bit of the face, loads of spin. So, for the right player, QI10 is still a very, very good head.
How do you feel about carbon look on the top? Are you a fan?
I actually, this sounds really, really vanilla. I'm really indifferent about it. I think it's brighter than I thought it was going to be in colour. I expected it to be a little bit darker, but you know what? I think it's a very even visual. It's a sort of what I call it's quite a square weave. It's not it's a very tight looking weave to it. But I think the fact that it's more the brighter colour of the head stands out a little more. It's definitely a bigger frame, definitely more stretched back. The base head weight's maybe slightly heavier, but to hit with, comes out a little bit stronger. Definitely it's a little bit faster on the face. It's a little bit lower and more going. I think with this head, what they've got is naturally a stronger head. The core model, I think a lot of the pros are going to go into the core model. I know Morikawa's in the LS, but I think the ability to move weight front and back, it's a more versatile setup, and from what we've seen with it, it's pretty fast as well. So
that is a naughty looking head. I like that.
I think TaylorMade this year, this is the year they've got the face right for me.
Oh, that's naughty. Yeah. I really like that.
So yeah, I think it's going to be very good.
The reason why I asked you, do you like the carbon head? So I was holding it in my hand there, and I thought, I'm not sure I like the look of that.
Yeah. Behind the ball, it actually works.
Yeah, that's really nice, and sits incredibly square, doesn't it?
That's one of the things that the last few years, a lot of them have learned from Ping. Ping have always done it really, really, really well, where the flat of the sole of the club's very flat. So fairway woods, drivers, hybrids. So when you put the club down, where it goes is it sits. Yeah. It can only sit in one place. Yeah. So you can put the club down and know where it's going to sit and sit square. And I think TaylorMade has done a great job with this year. I think they're going to have a strong year this year.
That looks really nice. Let me get the discs. We have questions coming in all over the place. Great to see so many people of you online. And if you fancy it, why not give it a like and a share? And let us know what you think about the old TGL. Didn't mention that.
Yeah.
Did you see any of it?
Very little. Very little at the time it was on. I'm an early to bed man. I actually think a lot of people have had opinions on it and things. I think it's actually disappointing how some people have come out and poo-pooed it already. You go, you know what? It's the first one. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the players grow into it. Now they kind of know how it works. First one's always going to be a little bit, what's going to happen? I think we'll start to see the players loosen up a lot more. I hope we will actually.
Bit of bad language coming out of Irishman's Lowry, yeah.
Well, a bit like when he was at the Ryder Cup. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah. Chris Champion, hello gents. Can't stay. Oh, I've done that one already. Harvey Norris, hi guys. Will you have the new QI35 light head in left hand to try out on my fitting in February?
The left hand stuff always comes through a little bit later on. So fingers crossed. Yes, I mean the heads are fairly strong weights. So. But yeah, we do have one on order. It's just a question of when exactly it comes in. But so the left-hand ones, the extra heads that we order on top of the demo pack come in once the product launches. So we always have to wait for someone to come in. So hopefully it'll be here in time.
I haven't asked this question. Chris Champion, hello gents. Can't stay on the live, but I have a question. I play Modus 115X 4 gap wedge. What would be a good shaft weight for my next longest club 3 hybrid and my 54 and 58 wedges? Many thanks.
So wedges, you can continue. The 115s in the X are up around the 120 gram mark, 118, 120. So, so actually you could go into, you could go into a Modus 125 wedge shaft, although if you want feel, they're not the softest feeling shaft. So potentially something like, let's think, maybe actually the Modus 130 at a stiff. It sounds brutal, but actually it plays a little bit lighter, more like 125. So that could work well. And the balance point and the base design of the shaft's very similar. Hybrid-wise, if it's a hybrid, that's like an odd comment, and then probably kind of upper 80s around the 90 gram in principle. So 85 to 90 would suit. If it's a kind of hybrid, if it's a driving iron, you might find around 110. That'd be quite good.
John Puckett, I watched a fitting done by Avoda Golf, and their philosophy values lie angle as most important. Thoughts?
Well, lie angle can't be most important because lie angle is the bit you measure at the end because its position is determined by the components and how the person swings them. So you can use it to fine tune start lines and gear the shot shape a little bit, but you wouldn't set lie angle first and go, right, that's what it is. Because if you change shaft, you change someone's delivery pattern, you might change the lie angle. So you've got to, it's a bit like swing weight. It's resultant on everything else, and then you can use it to slightly influence shot shape. So yeah, interesting. That.
Brandon says, love watching Stu try and read out all these fancy names of shafts. Thank you, Brandon. I hope you're sweating while you're on the cycle. A quick one. How often should you get your loft lies checked out? Love the show. Keep it up. Now, this is coming from a chap when he comes in for a lesson. He's swinging his 9-iron at somewhere in the region at 102 miles an hour.
That's indecent.
It is obscene.
So for you, probably once a week.
Yeah.
So if you practice off the hard, these mats are a lot softer, so they don't bounce lie out. Over the winter time, if you practice on a lot of range mats, have kind of that much rubber and a tiny bit of felt on the top. Definitely, once you come out of the winter, definitely get them checked. If you practice on those, so once a year. For most players, you wouldn't need more than twice a year. You might do kind of March once we come off the mats and onto turf, and then you might do back end of the year, sort of October time, just to make sure they haven't moved through the season. But for most players, once a year is generally enough if you're a heavy practicer twice.
Harvey Norris, hi guys. Will you have the, I've asked that already, the left rough, hi Simon. What are the new sole widths like on the new ZX i5 compared to the ZX 5s Mark II? The short irons in the ZX5 seem to have wide soles, but do they play slimmer due to the V-sole?
The second part of that, yeah, they do a little bit because the back edge cants off a little bit. So they are quite, in the short irons, I believe they're going to be a little bit neater. Mid irons very, very similar, and longer irons. ZX i4s are a little bit neater shape, that's for sure, than they were last year. But yeah, hopefully, I'd have to double check. We generally only see mid irons. I'd have to double check when they come in, but I think they'll be just a hair neater in the ZX i5s. But the sole shape, the V sole, does definitely help with the interaction.
James very kindly reminded me that I missed a question in the audio break. Evening, gents. This is from Noel. Evening, gents. Simon, the video you done the other day about one length irons, what would be your thoughts on cutting the 4 and 5 iron the same length as the 6 iron? Then the rest is a progression.
So you would have to use one length heads to do that. It's actually just not, you can do it, you just won't have any feel for the heads. So because on a conventional set of heads, you get about a 7 gram progression head to head. So for the 6 iron is 7 grams heavier than the 5 iron, which is 7 grams heavier than the 4 iron to facilitate the length progression. If you just chop them down, the 4 iron's going to swing rate at about B1. So you just have no feel for it. So you have to use something like, of the big brands, someone like Cobra, use a one length for the 4, 5 and 6, and then, or 4 and 5, Actually, no, because they're 7-iron. You couldn't actually. You'd have to do it based on a 7-iron because they're 7-iron weight, and they'd be really heavy at 6-iron length. So it's something that is doable and have done it in the past. The principle being the longer irons become easier to strike because they're shorter, but you do get steeper on them than you would because the shaft length's shorter. You will launch them a little bit lower, and you do lose a little bit of swing speed progression. So it's not for everyone, but it can be done with very limited head options.
If you're a regular watcher of the Precision Golf YouTube channel, do give us a heads up on what you would like to see from Simon in the studio. Got loads of content coming your way, but we'd love to hear your thoughts. So give us a heads up on that. And of course, if you want to on my channel, feel free to do that too. Miss Ali Nerd, been told that I've got a very strong grip and my left hand is fine, but my right hand is very active and closing the face. Tried to correct it, but made it worse. Any tips to quieten the right hand, please? I would check out my grip series on my channel. There is an alarming amount of videos. In fact, I dropped one today on the grip. So please go check that out. And if you've still got the lefts, go check out a video that's called Power at Impact, and that will all talk about the release of the golf club. Head back over to Mr. Titleist, which I think is a fantastic handle name. Evening, gents. Have you hit or seen the new Titleist GT Hybrid yet? Any thoughts as I'm looking to upgrade my TSI2 Hybrid when it's released? Thank you.
So Titleist have been around and shown us the imagery of it. There weren't any samples to show us. We are seeing them in a couple of weeks' time. I think it's beginning of February. I'm not exactly sure what the embargo date is on them, but we will be seeing them. I think it's Thursday the 1st of Feb, something like that. Anyway, where we'll be going over them and with the Titleist rep and the tech rep, but haven't seen them in person yet. But they do look good. There are some features on them that aren't on the current ones, which will help dial in ball flight and balance, things like that. But they're likely to be slightly more forgiving, and maybe, I'm going to guess it may be launched just a little bit higher in the 2.
Yeah, like it.
That's my guess anyway.
TYB, if I increase the Yorkshire blade, if I increase shaft length by ½ inch, what would be the club speed increase? What would the club speed increase swing weight be equal? If I increase, I wish people would put in commas and full stops. If I increase shaft length by ½ inch, what would be the club speed increase swing weight be equal?
Swing weight be equal. Swing weight wouldn't be equal. It would go up about 3 points. If you could keep the swing weight equal, then you're looking at about 2 to 3 miles. Generally speaking, so ½ inch would be the equivalent of going from a 6-iron to a 5-iron. If loft stays the same, you won't get the 5-mile-an-hour ball speed gain. So you're probably looking at around 2 to 3 mile-an-hour club speed gain. But then if it's not a lighter head, you won't get that either. So you're probably looking at about a 1.5 to 2 miles an hour club speed gain, I reckon. Very
good. I mean, give a fellow a break. I'm trying to read 2 channels here, and you're not throwing in commas. I'm joking. The left rough, for the crack. Could you hit the Modus 120 stiff and see, does it deliver, for the crack, could you hit Modus 120 stiff and see, does his delivery go wonky, or if it's just feel coming from a stiff handle Project X? I'm just going to read them out now. I'm just going to. If
Am I comparing this to something, or just hitting the Modus 120, or is he talking about someone else?
No. So the left rough says for the crack. Could you hit the Modus 120?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe they've had a Project X 6.0.
Got it. Now the new Callaway Elite. It's spelled ELYTE.
Yes.
Based on Eli Callaway.
Correct.
So why is it not pronounced the Elite? Just saying. Elite.
Because that doesn't make any sense from a language point of view.
Elite. But if you're going it on an Eli,
no, I totally understand.
I think we should all start calling it the Elite. Elitey. Delighty,
So
Elitey.
James and I out at the trade show next week, go to the Callaway booth and go, how's your Elitey?
What's sir? I bet they know that it would be, that's what they're supposed to be called. They definitely had that in the boardroom and gone, let's call it the Elitey. Nobody's going to know that.
There was a shaft, a hybrid shaft designed by Nippon that was called the Rizzy, but it was spelled R-I-Z-Y. And in the UK, they said you can't call it that. So why is that? Because it says Ritzy.
I spent a lot of time in a club called Ritzy. Oh, Saturday night, Kingston, Bosch, have it. Young man's
a different part of London than that. But
young man's
so I'm just hitting this to see what happens. So
yeah.
Project X60, if that's what you've come from, is about 10 grams lighter than this. So, but if I play Modus 120. So for me, it just allows, the bottom end's a little heavier than what I play, but I can just stand and hit through. So what that does prove is that me being able to hit it is completely irrelevant to you being able to hit it, I would imagine. So, but in terms of, for me to hit it, yeah, I can just hit that.
Make it work. Yeah. Like we said the other day, good player in a club in their hands, within a swing or two, they can make it work. Doesn't mean to say that you can
make heavier in the head work more easily than too light.
Yeah.
So where that is heavier than what I use, but I can kind of fetch it and make it work. Whereas if I go too light, I really struggle. I have to back off it.
Richard Skinner, can you do a driver comparison between the Titleist GT3, Callaway Elitey, and the TM QI35?
So the Callaway
head and shaft setup for your specification.
On the demos are imminent. Our pack has not been delivered yet, so I can't compare that yet. Even though the embargo is lifted, that doesn't mean all the demo packs are out on that day. I can compare a GT3 and a QI35. Yeah. Key 35.
Anon says, referring to the QI35 that we just had better looking Club A, nice finish. I agree, absolutely. Yeah. Beauty in the eye of the beholder, absolutely. My mum said that to me all of the time. Doug, hi guys, Stealth Stew and Fancy Dress Simon tonight. I think that's a little harsh, Doug.
Well, you were in black last week.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's slimming, and I've eaten too many mince pies over Christmas. Stu, you've seen my swing on Skillist. A lesson with you first, or club fit with Simon first? No sitting on the fence. I would definitely go club fitting with Simon first, with the way you swing the golf club. Anon, it's a way to get to know the pros. Can't be bad for the game. Oh, that he's referring to TGL. Absolutely. It is really nice, isn't it? This social media gives us a great insight into seeing people behind the scenes and realising it's not all professional.
I think as long as the pros let their hair down and actually just enjoy themselves with it.
Exactly.
I think
100%. Perry Mason, TGL was entertaining and light-hearted. Tech in the green was super fantastic. It was amazing, wasn't it? It'd be nice. I don't know, does the green actually move and mould in different slopes, or is that just one set green, do we know? Because
good question.
Platform Golf has got a new bit of kit that that's going to start to change the putting mat that will harmonise with TrackMan and a new generation of simulator golf. So I would be surprised if it doesn't do that. I can't imagine that they've got that revolving green that's going to be exactly the same every time. It must be different.
Without the ability to move it around. You'd think so, certainly, yeah.
Perry Mason, TGL was entertaining and lighthearted. Tech on the green, fantastic. Yeah, Graham Jones, how do your Skillist lessons work, and how much? Skillist lesson is £150. The way it works is you send me videos face on and down the line of a 7-iron and a driver. I will then give you a swing analysis, about 5-8 minutes long. Then I'll send you some bespoke drills, between 3 and 4, 5 different drills. I will then request you to send me you doing those drills so that I can make sure that you're doing the drills as prescribed before you go away and practice. Then you'll go away and practice for a week, 10 days, get 400 or 500 balls under your belt. Then I'll ask you to send me more videos back. I will then critique those videos, and then that'll be the end of the session, and it'll include a 10-minute Zoom call as well. So it's not just a video and then I send you some info back. It is actually really quite interactive, and it really gives you a best way to reach my coaching and get your golf in a better shape than it started with, hopefully. So that's the format and the profile. You can check me out on Skillist just under my name. That
What do you use? DeWalt?
DeWalt?
Drills. Send out drills.
Drills, yes. Send out drills. Just drills. Oh, drills, DeWalt. Sorry, got it.
So I tell them.
Got it. Yeah. I'll tell the jokes. Anyway.
GT3.
GT3. Right. So this is the GT3, and
I'm going to do 9 degree and 9 degree.
Got it.
And then my shaft, or the one that I.
This is so these are two are set up for you.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe a little lower on the face, but the GT, it works pretty well. Fairly low on spin, maybe get a little bit toe side. Quite low on spin. I'll hit one more on those. So I'm in TSR3, and I found GT3 brought the flight down a little bit, where I'm using an 8 degree TSR3. If I were to switch, it would be a 9 degree in the GT. I'll give that one more. A better flight. So yeah, pretty solid overall. Not the most forgiving head in the world, but pretty stable, low spin.
That was a nice shot.
Oh, it works. It's better than I expected.
That was very nice.
Should eat and drink too much and do no exercise a bit more.
Yeah. Well done, the good times.
But yeah, quite a compact head style for sure. If you're someone who likes to see or feels a bit of a comfort blanket and having a bit of scale to the head, then the Titleist might look a little less friendly than some. This certainly, the footprint of this head is quite a lot bigger. Switch that over. And so the bit that you do have an influence on with the TaylorMade is, yes, you can change the weight in the Titleist, which changes the overall, but it doesn't change, you can't move it from front to back. So you can change the front weight, which technically the heavier you make it, makes it lower spin, but you're not removing weight from the back like you are with the TaylorMade. So.
Who just commented on the, so Noel, hopefully you got the answer, your question answered. And we've got Andrew Evans saying about the show, the trade show last year in Orlando. Where's it going to be?
Frisco in Texas, which is where the headquarters of the PGA of America is, which is why it's going there. So actually the ladies are playing one of their majors at Fields Ranch, which is at Frisco. So we know there's one good golf course there.
Yeah.
And literally right there is where the headquarters of the PGA is. So it'll be interesting to see whether there's a format change or whether it's just a pick it up and move it somewhere else. I'd imagine the conference hall is less dear in Frisco.
Yeah, I would think so. I think I might come to that one next year.
Yeah.
Be a bit of a trip out.
We won't have a clue what's going on where.
No.
So yeah.
Let's do it.
I mean, this will be our 20th or 21st year going to Orlando. So it's kind of like a home from home actually. We rent an apartment in the same place. The first night we always go and get something from the supermarket and settle down in front of one of the NFL games. So it's a really comfortable trip in that respect. So it's probably a good thing that it's switching it up, freshening it up. Right, so definitely say bigger footprint on this. So the head's slightly heavier. I've got to work the head through a little bit more. So I'm going to do one more because that was not, I fetched it and rolled it a little bit. Okay. A little bit of a stronger launch angle, maybe a little bit stronger launch out of it. Yeah. So actually quite stable. I mean, the first hit I towed a little bit, so it got a little low spin. Quite stable on spin, actually. A little lower launch. The Titleist for me got higher launch, less spin. That one, more moderate launch and more moderate spin. But I think there's about a yard of carry in it and about 1 yard in total, and just slightly different flights. I think for me, the TaylorMade just feels a little bit more forgiving. I think that's where it has, and that's in the weight forward position. So put the weight back, it's going to have a little bit more stability to it again as well. I think.
Give us a little flavour on not a crazy, silly, exotic driver. What sort of ballpark are these drivers retailing at, Son?
They're pretty high. Where with an aftermarket shaft, the TaylorMade will be dearer because structure-wise, we can get different pricing on Titleist to TaylorMade depending on what we're getting with its head shaft, stock option. There is none of that with TaylorMade, so they will be dearer. They're both, as an off-the-rack, are over £500. So golf's got pretty dear of late. So you can find yourself very quickly up at £700, £800 with a non-standard shaft in. So, but the TaylorMades will ramp up quicker because there's no structure that allows us to mitigate some of that cost if we don't need the shaft.
Got it. Good insights. Ian Linfoot, does TrackMan have a measure similar to closure rate on GC Quad? If so, do you use it at all in shaft fitting? Thanks.
So it's something the rate of closure is something I know they are working on. They give a face to path number at impact, and so that's something that we'd use. I mean, you can, based on how someone moves the club and then the data, the path and face angle of attack back up that pattern of movement. So it's essentially it's path line and start line, and then the differential between the two is a key thing. But actually, rate of closure is something that the GC, because they've got the dots on the face, they have been able to measure. It's not something TrackMan have measured, but I know they're working on it, and that shouldn't be too far away.
Very good. Tony, by the way, evening gents. Simon, loving my clubs after the recent sand wedge changes. Strike and dispersion is great, but noticed spin and little low. Spin is a little low. Pro V1 user. Would a different ball give a noticeable improvement?
The answer is yes. I mean, you get some big differences in spin. However, the launch of the new Titleist ball that's coming there is going to be, from as I understand, the change is going to be in the mid irons in particular. They are looking to increase the spin a little bit, particularly Pro V1. But you could go to a Pro V1 and Pro V1 X, you could get about 400 revs more spin, a little bit more launch. If you go to something like a Strixon Z-Star Diamond, you can get 600 or 700 revs more spin on the irons. There's a really significant shift there. So there are definitely balls out there that will lift the spin up for certain. TaylorMade TP5, that'll spin a little bit more than the Pro V1 as well.
Sneaky shots. Hi guys. What would generally be the Yeah, it is, isn't it? Generally, what is the adverse effect of having an iron shaft either too long or too short? We've got 11 minutes left. We try to get through as many of these questions as we can. If you've got one burning a hole in your pocket, get it out to us as soon as you can.
So too short is mainly, it might be balance of the club, you might lose feel of the head, but it's generally posturally. In the shorter irons and the wedges, you end up having to kind of sit down, get down into it. You're normally going to find to get a full swing, you stand up out of it, and then you've got to go down to get it. Too long ball striking. Either swing rate's going to get heavy, or you're going to struggle to get consistency on ball striking because it's unwieldy.
Robin Morton.
Good question.
Go on, Stuart. You want to hit the I-35. I do, but I am not going to fire up the band this evening. We'll save that for another evening. Matt M. Simon, out of all of the 2025 releases, this is a good question. Which ones do you think will be the standout choice for this year? I mean, you said about the TaylorMade just a second ago.
I think the TaylorMade with the fairway, the fact the core model's got the adjustability on it, I think it's a strong hitting head. I think that's going to do very well. Let me see. Be interesting to see. We've had the guys who hit the ping fairways. There's mixed reviews about whether the deeper head is something they like or not, but ultimately performance will out. I think the Callaway fairways are going to do well again this year, and their hybrids actually you can get one that spins, which is no bad thing. Standouts this year. So I don't think there's any other main launch. There's an updated P790 coming. That's always going to be strong. I think wood-wise, I think TaylorMade are very good. I think Wilson will do well with the woods this year.
Yeah,
it's all proportionate, but I think they're nice, and we're looking forward to getting those in hopefully quite soon. But I think they could surprise a few people actually. Yeah.
TYB, TGL, the green moves every hole. So as we suspected,
I thought he was just going to deal in letters.
Yeah, yeah. TYB, TGL. Perry Mason. THL was multiple jacks underneath the green to make the green resemble whichever hole they were playing. Yeah. So the platform golf are coming out with exactly that same technology, but more on a mobile sense or home fitting sense. And on the only trouble with the lessons is Stu is too good, so he'll probably fix everything in one lesson, more than likely. Doug, the green is on hydraulics and they can change it for every hole. Absolutely, everyone is up on this side.
Well, they've had an extra year or so to do it because the roof literally fell in last year, which is probably no bad thing because it's given a chance to really kind of fine tune it.
Yeah, get some momentum as well. Matt M. Simon, out of, no, done that. John Kelly, how was the speed on the new Strixon ZXi LS head?
Not bad, not bad. I think it's interesting to see Hideki stayed in the ZX5 LS from last year in his ridiculous win. So again, it'll be something we'll be looking to get a bit more of a direct comparison. We only have them for a very brief period to do our reviews, and once we get the kind of the demo ones, our proper demo ones, in, we'll be doing direct comparisons. But I think it's one of those questions of do they sacrifice a little bit of speed for a bit more stability of spin and forgiveness? Some have gone down that route. It's always that balance up. Do you go extreme, and then it's really hot and really fast, but it's volatile, or do you rein it back a bit and get it a little bit more rounded? I think they may have gone the latter, in my opinion, this year.
John Kelly, the green moves, lads. Thank you, John. Richard Skinner, hi Simon. Are Callaway offering Artera shafts as a reasonably priced upgrade option in the UK? Do you carry the Artera range?
We will be carrying them. They've got pushed back a little bit. I'll actually be spending a bit of time with Chris from Artera next week. Thoughts? They seem, from my initial testing, they seem very, very impressive. They are partnering with Callaway to drive a little bit of kind of tour usage. So they are a very, very good value option through Callaway as an upcharge. We'll be able to test them, and we'll be able to get them via Callaway as well as an upcharge option, not as an individual shaft. But I'm really interested to do a bit more extensive testing with it when it comes in, because I quite fancy one myself.
Yeah, nice. Doug says the green moves as well. Thank you, Doug. Dean B Golf, Stewie's putting video with David Howe still on the cards. That would be awesome content. Absolutely. Been chatting to David a little while over the last few weeks, and yeah, we are going to hook that up when he's back from Dubai and the Middle East. Craig, Stu, loved the grip video. Would be great to see a video where you rate different training aids, tier down to A tier down to D tier or something like that. Yep, I'll do that happily. Just means I've got to buy them all. That's the only trouble. But yeah, I will do for you, Craig. I will 100% do it. No problem at all. Mark Rowley. All right, fellas. All right, Mark. Cannot change my angle of attack on driver. Average is 0.6 down. There's nothing wrong with that.
Fine.
Spin is 4,400. That's not so good. Carry is 190 yards. Club speed 95 miles an hour. Don't think I'm getting the best out of my driver. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a club.
Come get a fitting. Yeah, because if you're spinning it that much, that's a 5-iron spin rate. That's a 9-wood spin rate. So yeah, you're definitely losing out a lot from that.
Yeah. Craig goes on to ask, Simon, will you come out of retirement to do fittings, please?
Oh no, I haven't retired from fittings. My diary is just not online because I don't want to get as booked out as I could do if it was online. But no, if you email in, send an email to info@ and request a fitting with me. My fees are higher than the other guys because there is slightly restricted time that I have, but I do still fit.
That's info@precisiongolf.co.uk. Yeah. You'll be able to reach Simon. AJ Van Kampen, what do you think is a good golf ball for senior single-digit golfers? Good question.
Well, it's a mixture of what spin rate do you want, what feel do you want, and how much do you want to pay. So a Pro V1 X is still maybe not the left dash, but a Pro V1 X is still a perfectly viable ball, or the premium balls from all the brands are perfectly viable balls for any golfer who wants to optimize the spin control around the greens. Technically, at the highest club speeds, you might activate a slightly lower spin with the driver, but for irons, it's not actually the ball compressing that creates the spin. So it's a bit of feel, budget, and what spin do you need, and every brand will do a good option.
Niels Axelson says, I've missed his question, but I can't find your question, Niels. I'm just looking, because the last thing I would want to do is miss Niels' question. I can't see your question here, Niels, so do you want to repost it for me, and I shall do it. Lou, fitting question, currently playing the KBS Tour, and I'm hitting them too high and losing distance. Do I move into the DG Tour?
Not necessarily, no. It might be, it could be a number of things. It won't be the way the shaft is bending. It could be a balance point, could be, ironically, if the shaft's too heavy, it could be behind, you could be flipping it and adding loft that way, or kind of pushing the handle forward. If they're too light, you could be doing the same thing as well. It could be any number of things. Could be the club heads. So it's one of those things where there's not an absolute, if you're doing this with this shaft, then that's the one to go to. Everyone reacts differently to the various characteristics of the shafts from a weight and a balance point of view, and there will be a shaft that optimizes your delivery. So it's not one I can give you a yes or no answer to, I'm afraid.
Richard Skinner, brilliant show. Stuart, you are awesome. Sorry, you guys are awesome.
Oh, you are awesome. So am I.
Thank you, Richard. It's really appreciated. Thank you for being with us. And Niels Axelson's going to say he's going to ask his question for next week. And the last question, and on whatever one you can consistently dig out of the lake. That was in
the ball.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, we can't beat a lake ball, can you? There's a few of those.
One course I played at that had practice ground that had island greens. You hit into the water, and I've never thought there was a less suitable warm-up procedure than hitting balls into the water.
What's been a highlight? How many years you've been playing golf?
35.
What has been the one highlight on the golf course that stands out above anything else?
So individually, actually probably winning the club championship at St George's Hill. That was great.
Absolutely. That's your major, right?
Didn't achieve much as a player doing other stuff.
That's your major.
And team-wise, winning the plate at the Halford Hewitt.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's down on the south coast, isn't it? Yeah. And James plays in that as well.
Grafton Morris.
Grafton Morris. That's up at Hunstanton.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great team events. I never really got involved. Finalist. Well, we've got one last question.
What about you?
I think winning my first pro event. That's probably the highlight for me.
I claimed to that. So.
Yeah, for winning my first pro event, I was shaking like the proverbial dog, and to still be able to play and do well, knowing that I was going to make a check of like £1,000. It was only a pro am, but it meant a lot to me at the time. So so big no. I mean, it's a game that offers so much, doesn't it? You get to share it with friends and travel around, and you have giggles and dark times and all sorts of times, can't we? We all do it within the game, but it's a golf that keeps us all. It's a game that keeps us all coming back and enjoying. Well, listen, as usual, you've been spectacular as an audience and throwing your questions. We can't urge you enough to share this feed with friends. If you are on some golf chat channels, why not just stick a link sneakily in that chat channel and share it with them, because we'd love to get more of people along and just really share the wealth of knowledge that Simon brings and a few tidbits that I bring too. And of course, the mastery of edits behind the camera with James. These guys are going to be off in Florida next week at the trade show, and I'm sure you're going to be bringing back loads of insights. So there probably won't be a Monday Night Live next week, but there's going to be loads of content that the guys are going to be filming with lots of different people, which will be exciting.
I hope so, yeah. Meant to be.
And there's loads of content stored up on the Precision Golf YouTube channel as well that you'll be able to dig your fingers into over the next week or so. So have a week off next week. Think of those questions that you might want to ask Simon and James from the trade show. Enjoy yourself. Have a great have a great couple of weeks. Thank you so much for joining us. And as usual, have a great golfing week, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple. Take care of yourselves. See you next time.